Hey guys, I'm Michael, and today we're going to be checking out the Eken H8R. Really? Nobody else noticed that pre-production? Hey guys, today we're reviewing something a bit different from our norm. However, as a lot of us these days enjoy filming what we're up to, it makes sense for us to check out some cameras that'll fit our needs but not break the bank. But before we get too far into this, I just want to clarify that GearBest is not a sponsor of this channel. I am merely helping them out with product reviews, so what you hear is my independent opinion. This camera really reminds me of a GoPro Hero 2. Like a lot. Wait a sec. Okay, that could be why. This camera really reminds me of my GoPro, but after it's been on a get slim quick diet. It's actually exactly the same dimensions of the Hero 3 and 4, so a nice little camera that we're all used to seeing. But why would you buy it instead of a GoPro? The only reason is cost. We all know that a proper GoPro action cam will be better in every way, but it should be. You could literally get one Hero 5 or 4 of these cameras and still have money in your pocket. But should you? Let's check it out. First off, let's get this whole 4K thing sorted out. It doesn't shoot 4K. Not even close. The Eken uses a Sony IMX078 sensor, which sounds impressive if you have no idea what that means. This is an extremely common sensor, made in 2011 and has been used in a lot of the cheap action cams. In fact, if you search Google for Sony IMX078, you'll pretty much only find links to cameras and no real information about the actual sensor. But even though it is old, most cameras that use it currently claim to have an updated version. The Eken also uses a SunPlus 6350 chipset, which is listed as one of the few chipsets that can only offer 4K footage at 10 frames per second. Aye, and there's the rub. The camera records 4K footage by taking 10 photos per second and splicing them together into a video. It interpolates the intermediate images, as well as duplicates a few frames in order to achieve the claimed 30 FPS. A still image taken on this camera is 4608 by 2592 pixels. If you multiply those together and then divide by 1 million, you'll get 11.94, which is the image size in megapixels. And that's right on path with the claimed 12 megapixels from Eken. However, look at it. It's kind of blotchy, right? Here's a shot of my Impreza that I took with a Canon T3 Rebel, and it is also 12 megapixels. Megapixel just means 1 million pixels. So if both cameras are actually taking 12 million pixel shots, they should look basically the same, but they don't. As far as I know, that's due to image sensor quality and size. A small 16MP sensor in low light could most likely perform worse than a 12MP sensor of the same dimensions. Claiming that your $100 camera can shoot 4K is just an advertising gimmick, but usually the blame is put to a flaw in the design of a component by some other company. Now, I don't claim to be a camera expert. I could read about interpolation and resizing all day long to try to become an expert, but still not get anywhere. So here's the thing. Before you run out to your nearest tech store, get scared off by the price of the new Hero 5, and hop online to see what you can get for cheaper, hold on. If you really want a 4K camera for less than a GoPro, it is possible, but not with this camera. However, if you are comfortable with only being able to shoot 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is still a pretty good resolution, keep on listening because this is where things get a bit better. I've taken my 4-year-old Hero 2, maxed it out to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and put on a homemade jig next to the Eken, just so we can get an idea of how the two compare. For fairness, I set the Eken to film at this same resolution and frame rate, so the only differences in quality will be down to the sensors and processing systems. Looking at the footage here, can you guess which is which? I'll let you think for a bit. Okay, that's long enough. The Eken is on the left and the GoPro is on the right. Some of you may have even guessed that, and if so, give yourself a pat on the back. You can see the Eken has a bluer hue to the color range and almost looks sharper somehow. It appears to be a little shakier too, but I'll put that down to the MacGyver dual mount setup. I think the two biggest differences between the cameras are the reaction to lighting changes and the contrast used. The Eken just takes a moment longer to get the ISO adjusted, and after it has, it still doesn't seem to show the dark areas as well. Take this screenshot here. On the GoPro, you can see the ribs on the garage door, whereas on the Eken, you just can't. This can be fixed in post. On my editor, I reduced contrast from 50 to 45 and got this. I then changed the color with an RGB scale by bringing green from 50 to 47 and blue from 50 to 40. It's perhaps not an identical match still, but you can always play around with it more if you want to. So with those two changes, it gets the images looking very similar, but it still can't fix the camera's inability to quickly change ISO when needed. This shot indoors shows the problem accentuated by my standing in front of a window. For comparison, here's my Hero 2 in the same situation. To me, this shows the difference that quality parts make, even if they are 4 years old, a lifetime in technology terms. When I first started this review, I only had a 2GB microSD laying around, and that was limiting the camera to only 1080p at 30 FPS. So now that I've picked up a 32GB card, which is the max the camera can handle, let's see how 1080 at 60 looks. Told you on the front that it was. Oh, it does. Okay, there you go. So it's got that. This is the Eken H8R. It's in its sort of skeleton back housing, as you can see right there. So this is with the mics open to the air, just kind of if you're using it as a vlogging camera. I've just got it on that little stick thing, so it should be fairly smooth. Just not sure what the audio is going to sound like on this. It does not have a mic jack, so it is what it is. Unless you were to use a microphone separately with the zoom or whatnot. Then for comparison, this is the mic just built into the Hero. Test, test, talking, holding it the same distance away. So to summarize the video quality, because this is really the whole point of a camera, it's a perfectly good 1080 HD action cam, but just don't be fooled into thinking it's anything more. Now that we've got some video footage out of the way, let's look more at the camera's features. For starters, the screen on the front is color and shows the camera mode, resolution, elapsed recording time, battery charge, and Wi-Fi strength. Which is kind of pointless, as that's just showing the strength of its own signal when you think about it. Its 2-inch screen on the back is great for framing shots. It's fairly clear and easy to read, and you can be forgiven for accidentally trying to hit a button on the screen, as it feels like it should be a touchscreen. Sadly, it's not, but the navigation is pretty simple with just 3 buttons. The 2 larger buttons feel pretty well built, but I wish this small one was made from rubber, as it can jiggle a little bit, and the mic will pick up on that sound if you're moving the camera around quickly in a quiet environment. Lastly, the built-in speaker in the camera for playback of videos is nice to have, but is the worst sounding speaker I've ever heard in my life.
We're just doing this video here so I can play it back on the other camera and you can hear just exactly how low this built-in speaker is on this thing.
There is little point to having the volume up for playback, so I just turned it off. Overall, the build quality is pretty good, but I do have a few suggested tweaks for Eken if they're watching. Mold all the buttons from rubber and add a rubberized finish to the body for a nicer feel. Consider adding a threaded tripod mount into the actual camera body. A lot of other cameras have that, and it's a nice feature. A better quality speaker would be nice, but it's not essential. And I would also like to see a few LEDs to show that the camera is recording at a quick glance. As it sits, you have to look closely at the front screen to see the timer counting, or the top left of the rear screen to see the small red flashing dot. But those are really more just wants than needs. Included with the H8R is a 2.4 GHz remote. That's the R in the H8R. It is capable of controlling the camera from up to 20 meters, runs off a CR2032 battery, and is water resistant to 3 meters. I have no idea why only 3 meters. It should have at least been able to go as deep as the camera, but no. Now, you could put the remote in a plastic Ziploc bag, and that may allow you to go deeper, but without actually being able to test that, I can't tell you for sure. The remote comes with a wristband, which I find somewhat irritating. The Velcro strip is slightly too wide and itches your skin, but it does do its job. I think the weirdest thing about the remote is that the colors for the buttons are the wrong way around. The red button is actually for pictures, and the gray button is for video. The first time I used the remote, I thought something was wrong as I was pressing the red button expecting the camera to start recording. Some other features are a 170-degree field of view, a 3.7 volt 1050 mAh lithium-ion battery, and built-in Wi-Fi with a range of about 30 meters. As far as I know, the battery is a proprietary design, so you won't be able to use a GoPro battery or any other type. Replacement batteries are about $3 from GearBest, however, you can't get a docking charger, so you're limited to charging the battery directly in the camera via USB, and that takes about 2 hours. The Wi-Fi is a nice feature, and many people may use it. I had to download a QR reader just to be able to scan the QR code and download the Wi-Fi app for this review. It worked well once I figured out how to use it. However, the file was around 70 megabytes and I had to delete it as I don't have much storage space on my phone. It is noteworthy to mention that the camera can't record 2.7 or 4K when using the phone app to record video, but that's not really a problem since you most likely won't use those resolutions anyway. It comes with the waterproof housing, which is pretty sturdy, and a second non-waterproof back door for better audio. I left it submerged for an hour and everything was fine, but keep in mind it wasn't an hour under the claimed 30-meter max depth. The housing uses a similar clamp system to GoPro, but I would really love to see more of a lip on the door, as there isn't a lot that the clamp is grabbing hold of. To finish off this review, let's talk briefly about the included mounts of this camera. It comes with a handlebar mount, which is really designed for oval-shaped tubes. The max width of the bite is 3/4 of an inch, which is a bit smaller than I'd like, but if you go to a hardware store and pick up some longer bolts, you should be able to increase that number a bit. It also comes with male and female tripod mounts, a couple of quick-release mounts, a few extensions and 90-degree elbows, and 2 adhesive-backed quick-release bases. Also included are a few straps, a braided steel tether, a few zip ties, manuals, and a lens cleaner. Lastly is a skeleton housing with a snap-on spring clip mount for placing the camera quickly on a variety of different locations. It would be nice if a carrying bag was included, but let's not get greedy. This is a pretty extensive set for such a cheap price. A USB cable and wall outlet charger adapter are also included. All the mounts seem strong, but sadly I don't find that they fit very tightly. Even after really reefing down on the thumb screws, I can still move the camera fairly easily. So for low impact sports this might be fine, but it's always annoying when your camera moves partway through a shoot and you don't find out until afterwards. The mounting system of the camera is mostly compatible with a GoPro. The screws are even the same length and thread pitch, which is nice, but the quick release mounts have a different size flange here, which makes it very sloppy in a GoPro base. If you have no GoPro accessories, these are just fine to get you by, but if you do have both, it's pretty easy to tell the difference. And I think that just about covers anything you should want to know about the Eken H8R. My final thoughts on this camera are as follows. It's not comparable to a modern GoPro in terms of video quality, but for the price, it would make a great camera for extra angles during a shoot. Put one GoPro in the primary location and place these cheaper cameras elsewhere to cut in and out of during edit. In terms of comparing it with its cheap rivals, I'd say it's just as good as an option as anything else. There are cheaper models that will perform the same but may not have all the features of the H8R. In the end, I'm happy with it, and will most likely use it more commonly than my Hero 2, mainly because it's smaller, lighter, and has a screen. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, I'd really appreciate a like click, a share, and subscribe to see more reviews and Fanatik builds. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll try to answer them the best I can. See you next time.